I'm sure in your travels of the internet you've probably come across some pretty crazy things. One thing that has really made me think whenever I do come across it, and it seems to reoccur in the weirdest ways, is that there are words in other languages that have these crazy meanings that we could never translate them into an English word. We don't have an English word for that. There's an Indonesian word for a joke that's told so poorly that you can't help but laugh at it. There's an Inuit word for going outside to check if anyone's coming. There's a Japanese word for a mother that relentlessly pushes her children towards academic achievement. There's more that I've come across, but those are just a few. It's just crazy to me that there can be so many words that have such specific definitions out there. I often think, is there a word for this? I'm going through a certain moment in life and seeking a word for it, you know? How many times do we say, oh, I don't know the word for this, or for lack of a better word, or this is the best way I can explain this. That's the funny thing about language. Sometimes there isn't a word for that. There might not be a word for it, but you can still be understood. That leads me to my next idea that's been in my head. Do you ever have a thought that's just frustrating because you can't express it? You can't get it out. It bottles up inside of you and you just keep trying to think of words, and I'll even open my mouth and I start trying to articulate these noises that we associate with meanings that trigger different chemicals and nerve endings and etc. I can't articulate it. I just come short of being able to convey it in the format of language, a medium of thought. Why do we do that? Why do we seek to be understood? That's the only reason that we communicate that sort of thing, is to be understood. When there's no underlying bearing to our being understood, why do we still seek to be understood? What's the word for that? But still, it's comforting to be understood. And so I do seek it. And I realize that language is not always my best medium. I might not be a painter, but I feel like sometimes a painting says more about what I'm trying to express than any thousands of words that I could say. I could see some sort of scene that is completely out of my control. It's like a very candid moment in time. If I can capture it, that sometimes expresses me better. You know, those ones and zeros, or that film, the shadows cast onto a special plasticky material and then dipped in chemicals so that you can see what I saw in a moment. It's just fantastic to be able to take all this complexity, put it into a concise expression that can be conveyed to another human. And that's why we seek words. That's why we say, what's the word for that? Is there a word for that? Because a word, that's what it is. It's this concise thing that communicates what I feel to you. Sometimes I think of people that devote such a large piece of their time or even their whole lives to a certain medium, a certain aspiration. I really respect that. I think of how little time we have to decide on something that we can really hone and make our best. What if playing an instrument isn't the best way that they can empty their mind? Or what if painting isn't the medium that allows them to clear all their thoughts and give them to us? Or what if by some strange way constructing buildings isn't really showing us their vision? What's the word for that? When you're feeling wildly ambitious but for no real reason, what's the word for that? What's the word for the smell of tea in the morning after you didn't feel so well? What's the word for being on the cusp of greatness but not knowing how to push past that little bit of life inertia? What's the word for wondering what the word is for something? It's like life's this big crossword puzzle. I guess I'll just keep looking for words.